So this is my video, which is relating to Project 1, Weeks 5 and 6, which was the remixing part of the course. So we were given 2 songs to remix. We had to take them. It was initially like a Marvin Gaye track, but I was unfortunately not in on the lesson, I believe, for that part. And I'm just going to be evaluating all these screenshots just to make sense of them for you guys. So in the first photo, we can see we've got the hip hop. So this is for my my final output of that week, those 2 weeks. It was called, the song I took was called Meat Beat Manifesto by Repulsion, which I've only just actually understood what the song name means, but it's a very, very cool song. So what I did is, if you can see in the photo of audio, the second audio channel, there's a bit that's been chopped up, and that bit is the only bit of the song that I actually took. I felt that that part was just enough, and then I could create a song around it instead of, because I don't think that's not, because for me remixing is taking parts of another song, all from one song, and then putting my own bits onto it. But restructuring it and structuring it in a way that I want to, instead of keeping the original sound of the song. I just feel like that's just how I roll. And then yeah, so what we've got next is the classic electric piano. That's not actually the classic electric piano. That is a sampler. I just didn't change the name of the channel because it was, one of the stock Logic MIDI instrument thing they put up when you select a MIDI instrument on Logic, to add a new channel. I used that, and that was quite a cool one. But then moving on, so we've got the warm acid bass. That was just a bit more depth and adding a bit of punch into the song. And then you've got the strobe pad, the digital energy pulsar. That just kind of create like a little kind of sound, almost similar to the Aphex Twin Bucephalus' bouncing ball sound, but in its own way. I felt it was just useful for just a bit of extra noise and a bit of like ear candy, something nice to add into the song. And then what we've got after is all the drum parts. So these are all actually Logic drum patches. These are all Logic from the loop library. Never normally do it because it's a bit of a nightmare to work with, but I actually found it quite useful. I could find some of the sounds that I wanted, and it worked pretty well. One of the things I did do though, for the bottom, for the big, sorry. Okay, so we're back. So yeah, what I was talking about, so for the final, for the 10th channel, the Big Beat remix, which is hard pan to the right, not to 64, but so I think it was about 45. And it's also got a big distortion on it. Basically what I wanted to do with it was just create a breakdown in the song, but instead of, creating space and making it quieter, I made the texture a bit sparser in the melody line, on the actual melody part, and then chucked in a huge, massively distorted, I think I distorted it just all hell, like plus 20 or something. It was just for the sound of like a even bigger and just ridiculous break. It's essentially a reverse drop in a sense. Like, it's just a big sudden punch, and it just brings you back into the song. One of the things I did have an issue with was the timings, because of the sample being a sample. I think some of the timings were slightly different to the actual tempo, so sometimes it didn't line up properly and it sounded a bit weird, but for the most part it was alright, so I kind of kept it all in, just said the rest is the, technique. And then, so next photo is the sampler. It's it's the cut from the original song, Meat Beat Manifesto. Then what I did is I put it into a slicer instead of the classic or one shot, so that I could have the ability to play every single part of the sample at different points, but play it completely. Yeah, and then what I did is I turned the sensitivity down all the way to 50, so that I didn't have so many parts, and it gave me something where I could really just play it all bit by bit, and I wasn't going to have to worry about the timings too much. And then I selected it to be only on the white keys, because I just wanted to be able to go boom, 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 like, just, and not have to worry about what the back keys, because it would just be confusing, especially because what I'm doing with this sample a lot is just going all the way through the sample, but slice. So I'm playing each single. I'm playing C1 to C3 or something, or we're playing C1 to C2, I think, or something. Like I was just using it to chop up samples. Then what you can also do, which is quite cool, it's quite useful, um, is having that ability to take random bits and recreate the song. Essentially, you can completely reorder the way that the song, the melody is, and I thought that was quite a unique and useful technique. And then moving on to this next photo. So this is the warm acid bass. It's on, so it's got a arpeggiator on it, a non-latching arpeggiator, so, which is odd for me. Normally I'll latch my arpeggiators purely for the sake of ease, and because if I'm using an arpeggiator, normally I'll be using it throughout the whole song, and I can just alternate it to cut off. But what I actually ended up doing was leaving it not latching on a 16th note rate, and then playing through an irregular pulse bassline preset, one of the pattern presets on Logic, because I don't quite understand how to set up a sampler, a sequencer like that. It's not something I'm aware of how to do, unfortunately. And then what I also did for the bassline, just to make sure it was all staying in key and stuff, is I put a transposer on and basically deselected any of the notes that weren't like diatonic, or the notes that I didn't want to play, which was helpful because I'm not the best at keyboard, so just giving not being able to play wrong notes really helped, because it means I could just focus on playing and getting the rhythm and getting the actual song sounding right, instead of being like, oh my god, I can't play this because I can't play all the notes right. It's just making it a bit easier. And yeah, so the warm acid bass was actually an ESM, the monophonic Logic synthesizer, which is something I've never actually used before. This was the first time I've used it in a song, and it was actually pretty cool. I chose the 16 voices because for some reason increasing the voices in the synthesizer increased distortion, which was quite cool. But I think to take it up to 32, it was so distorted, it was just unlistenable. Like you just couldn't really make out what the original sound was, and I was like, oh, get rid of it. And then I sidechained the gate from instrument 1 from the sampler, so that it would only play when the sample was playing. Most purely for the fact of, oh, it was a ducker. Yeah. So sorry, I got interrupted. I've totally forgotten what I was talking about. I believe I was talking about the side chain for the warm acid bass. Yes, I was. So what I actually did, I did leave it on the gate. I left it on the noise gate function, but I put it at such a low threshold that it was, it would instantly hit as soon as the melody was playing. And yeah, I didn't want it to be noticed that it was sidechained, in the sense of I don't want it to be cutting out in the middle of a note or in an irregular place. So I tried to make the attack, hold, and release, the shape of the noise gate. I tried to make that as natural and subtle as possible, so it didn't feel like it was just getting chopped back in. Like it wasn't just I left the attack quite low. It was 11 milliseconds, so faster than the human ear can perceive, purely for the fact of I didn't want them to be able to hear the attack of because I liked it cutting out. I didn't like it cutting out and sounding unnatural, because what happens is also quite a fast song, so it's going to be cutting in, cutting out quite a bit, So yeah, ended up with that, which was pretty cool. What else did they do? Yeah, okay, there we go. So for the final channel, this is the final photo. I'm just gonna explain. So you can see that the distortion plugin, and yeah, plus 26.5 decibels of gain, just a lot. I turned off level compensation as well, so that the boost I was adding was actually going to be perceived instead of just changing the sound. I wanted it to be also a louder, more prominent sound. I took the tone up to 2300 just to get a bit more of a high end feeling. Instead of making it muddy, I wanted it to be clear because it was very much a break in the song. I wanted it to be crisp and clear, but not fizzy. And I didn't want it to be making my ears go ooh, because I just don't like that. And then I also took the output down. I took off 4.5 decibels in the end, just because I did feel it was a bit too loud, and I also wanted to keep a bit of headroom and just not be clipping. Basically, I think it was because I was clipping that I had to take it down off the on the distortion itself, because I didn't want to move the fader until I was mixing, because generally speaking I'll try and leave everything, you know, volume wise, I'll try and keep it in a specific place instead of tweaking it all and then having to tweak it again because it's just too complex, you know? So my goal for the week, for these 2 weeks with the sampling, with the remixing, sorry, was to just get a bit of a better idea as to what it was, what remixing actually was, and how to do it, and then also to create some music by remixing. To be honest, by the end of it, I didn't feel like I had understood remixing. I understand the concept of remixes and everything. I just didn't understand myself how I could make a remix. I think I would have a better ability to do so if I was working on like a DJ deck, and you know, I was working like that because there's a lot more customizability that doesn't require you to change instruments or do basically anything except on the decks. You know, the decks can give you that kind of customizability that Logic does have, but it takes more time because it's not designed for a live production. But for remixing, I feel like I kind of need the idea of doing it live, figuring it out in the moment, purely because I can't really remember a song. I understand the concept. I understand how a song works and what a song needs and everything, and how a song sounds in my head. But 90% of the time, I won't be able to actually consistently think of listen to a song in my head without it being there. So that means I have a bit less ability to structure a song and change the structure of a song. I don't have so much of that kind of idea. I can't really do a full picture. I'm very much I get tunnel vision, you know. I'm very locked in on a specific part, when realistically I should have just done a lot more, but with maybe slightly less quality, you know. Like, quality versus quantity is always going to be a bit of a balance. But I did really enjoy it. I did find it was an experience. I felt a bit lost, to be honest. I don't feel remixing is something that I particularly want to continue doing, but I did enjoy it in the end. You know, I did feel that what I was doing has benefited me, and it has opened my eyes to new techniques such as the slicing. Like, I've had a bit of a go with the slicing, but I've never really understood how to make it work for me. So by being able to figure out the slicing and turning down the sensitivity means I may actually be able to play it and it sound right, because it's not such small sections, it's actually bigger sections, and it's all things like that. It's like I have certainly improved on my sample-based work, but remixing, it's still not a strong point for me. And then another thing, so there was actually 2 songs I created. The first one was a Starjunk song which I made at home. Starjunk was this kind of genre I was trying to go for, and I tried taking some of the sounds and some of the synth sounds that they've created. I didn't feel I could directly take any of their songs, purely on the basis of the song itself is already feels remixed. You know, it feels very much like a house track, and I didn't think I could do much more, unless obviously, if I work with those DJ decks again, that would work. But annoyingly, but that's all. You know, that's something for next time. Is if I do need to remix, or if I want to change how a song sounds and I don't really know how, and I don't really have an idea of I want to explicitly do this thing, if I run it through kind of virtual DJ or a physical DJ deck, I might have more luck trying to create a remix.